I think that's fairly easy to research.
Larry Pope was the CEO of Smithfield Foods. He told Congress that he doesn't think the Chinese government is behind the takeover of his company.
So...
But I went to China.
I
flew to like the Nebraska of China. I mean, I met with the president of Shuanghui.
Welcome to Shuanghui.
He gave me a tour of the factory. After that, I flew to Hong Kong to meet with more of the company's executives. I was given a big, thick book that very explicitly says, do not distribute in the United States, because it's full of information. And I mean, I took it back to the United States because it was full of information. Yeah, I mean, when people say follow the money, this is like literally following the money. This is getting the book that breaks down every single dollar of the largest ever Chinese purchase of an American company. Buried within this thing is like treasure. A lot of it's really boring, and then there'll be pure treasure. And so I knew that the Bank of China had arranged the financing of this deal. And the Bank of China is owned by the Chinese government. It's controlled and run by the Chinese government. And so I opened up their annual report, and smack dab in there is an entire page devoted to the takeover of Smithfield Foods. And it says that it does its, quote, social responsibility and is carrying out the national strategies of the government. So by the time I sat down with Larry Pope, I had the goods.
All right?
Yeah.
Larry, it is 1:15.
Okay.
I just wanted you to...
Any more questions? Is there any other burning question I haven't asked?
Can I show you something really quick? I'm just going to show you this is the Bank of China document where they lay this out.
I didn't know they did it in 24 hours.
You can see here, I just mark it. I mean, they're saying that transaction is part of the government's plan, and they're supporting it, and it's their social responsibility.
The bank performs its social responsibility. The bank spares no efforts to support Chinese enterprises in there. Wow.
Overnight, Wan Long, the chairman of WH Group, picked up the phone, made a call to the Bank of China, and the next day they had $5 billion. 1 in 4 American pigs.
All right.
Thanks so much for the time.
Good luck.
It's just one deal. It was one deal. I was able to get to the bottom of it. Chinese government was behind the deal.
The largest Chinese takeover.
You can turn on MSNBC, CNN, Fox Business News, and you just keep seeing big food deal, big food deal. And then all of a sudden it kind of comes to me like, wait a minute, what are other countries doing this?
That's the scale of it. A vast leak of thousands of documents from U.S. embassies and other diplomatic outposts.
So around this time, I start digging through WikiLeaks, which had dumped like 200,000 State Department cables online. I just start going through. I mean, there's 818 results. And I came across this classified cable, food security, agriculture getting spotlight. It was basically the embassy in Riyadh sending information back to the State Department, back to the U.S. government, saying that King Abdullah is telling his companies to go overseas and buy up food and water resources. The cables, these classified cables, made it really clear this was a national security issue for Saudi Arabia. It wasn't just they were concerned about running out of water, they were running out of water. So there was like a time in the 90s when Saudi Arabia was the world's 6th largest exporter of wheat, a desert country pumping up its groundwater to grow wheat and export other places. And that didn't last. Saudi Arabia had drained so much water from their aquifers, they were nearly gone in 30 years, in a generation. And so King Abdullah had to say to his companies and to his nation, like, we got to go overseas and find our food and water. And that's the pattern. That's the pattern we're starting to see. One of the first things I stumbled upon was that Saudi Arabian company had bought effectively 15 square miles in the middle of nowhere, Arizona. This place, La Paz County.
in LaPage County, and you know, so I'm grateful that we're able to keep it on the forefront, let them know that, you know what, we're a small county, but we matter, and stuff like that. So anyways, you guys enjoy your margaritas.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I've heard from people, the residents, that they've gotten so frustrated that they've talked about taking their trucks, their off-road vehicles, and tearing up fields. I've heard them mention throwing bombs down their wells. The biggest farm is going to be Fondamonte, the Saudis, the Saudi Arabians. Their facility that they have is just huge. It's like their own little world. I didn't see this here a month ago. Here you have trucks that are being weighed, filled up with hay in the back, so they can ship the hay either to China, Saudi Arabia. I have no idea how many heads of cattle that they're feeding over there. All I know is that I've been told that that's what they're using their hay for. Sucking our water dry in order to grow hay so they can ship it overseas back to their country so they can feed their cows. We have the aquifers underneath us, and some of these pumps that they're installing can pump up to 3,500 gallons per minute. Millions and millions of gallons of water.
In a lot of these areas in Arizona, there's no regulation to how much water you can pump. You buy the land, free to pump as much water as you want. So this big Saudi Arabia and dairy company goes to Arizona and quickly becomes one of the largest water users in the state. And, you know, what's happening is legal. It's pissing a lot of people off. But under current law, this is legal.
Yeah, my well went dry. It drew down because the water's dropping. There's not enough, rain that could replenish it. I mean, you couldn't replenish this in a lifetime,
When did you first notice the water problem?
Well, I guess that would have been the day when the water level went below my pump and the pump burned up and melted the casing. And yeah, that was a little disappointing. I think everybody knows the problem, but I don't know how to correct it. I can't pay for a high-powered lawyer. Neither can any of my friends, and what good would it do anyway? You just take and take and take. And pretty soon there isn't anything to take.
Because these people are so upset. So when I say that, I feel her pain, I feel your pain. I was out all day today taking a look at the different farms again. I want conservation measures put in place so we can all grow as a community. Where you guys can stay here, and so can they.
You're saying it's perfectly legal for these people to come in here, drain the aquifer, and the local people have to re-drill their wells that they've lived there for years, and you say that's perfectly legal?
Tell us what's going to be done to improve the situation, because it's getting worse. I know that there's large tracts, miles and miles of green that wasn't there 2 years ago. How is that possible? I thought these
infections are allowed to we homeowners here. Our wells are running dry.
What we want to know is, what are you doing for us?
Where do we go?
Nathan Halverson is the first reporter to break this story in the national